Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, StoryBrand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story. I had such a fun conversation with Jordan Perry on the Clicks and Giggles podcast, and it was so good, I wanted to share it with you here today. Enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. Your host here, Jordan Rothwell Perry, and I'm super excited for today's guest. A new business colleague and friend of mine, Kris Jones, is here. She is the owner of Red Door Designs, and I'm so glad to have you here today.
I am so glad to be here, Jordan. This is going to be fun.
Yes, I'm super excited for you to be here. So, Kris, can you tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself and your business?
Of course. Yeah, I've had this business, Red Door Designs, for 23 years now. So I've been doing this type of work a very long time. I started out in design, brand design, graphic design, web design, and eventually realized that design will only get you so far, and that my clients really needed to get clear with their storytelling and the words, and really to have a powerful story online that sold for them. And so I over the years have really shifted the way I do my business. I used to be very much design first, and now it's all about storytelling. We start with that, we build that foundation, and then we move into the design phase of things. But it all starts with story. And I'm in Portland, Oregon, but I work with people all over the world. And I love helping entrepreneurs really find the words to confidently communicate what they do, whether that's out loud in person or on your website or on social media. It's really, when you have a signature story, it's such a confidence boosting thing to have. And I think a lot of the people that I work with forget how powerful their work is. You're in it, you're in your business all day, every day. And sometimes it's helpful to have an outside person come in and remind you of the problems that you solve and the incredible results that you provide for your clients, and put that into words for you. It's super hard to write for your own business. So I like to let my clients off the hook and do that heavy lifting for them. Yeah.
Right. They're already doing enough. So for you to be able to take that off their plate is such a gift. So how did it come to be? So I lurk on everyone, right? So I saw on LinkedIn that you were an art director in the past, which is awesome. And I love. Before my grandpa started his agency back in the 70s and 80s, he was an art director. So love a creative mind. And so you went from that to then start going out on your own. And so as you're on your own, when did that shift come? And like, how did that come that you were like, hold on, I'm making these beautiful things, but we need to switch to story first. How did that come to be?
Well, I've been doing this for so long that really it was back in the day when originally I worked for larger corporations like Nike and Adidas. And then I found my way to having my own business. And I really gravitated toward people that were in a similar position as me. Solopreneurs, small business owners, people that really were the face of their business. And this is back in the day when all you needed was a beautiful website to really do well as a business. People are like, oh, they have a website. They're a legit business, right?
We need to give them our money.
Right. So it was like throw, a photo on there, and, the words didn't really matter so much. You just needed a website. And what happened was over the years, the landscape online changed. And I had a client come to me. Her name was Elise, and she had a background in publishing. So she was actually pretty gifted with writing and words. And she had this business idea that she wanted to get out into the world. So she hired me to design her website. And the way that I used to do it back then is I'd say, okay, the project is going to kick off. The design phase of the project is going to kick off on April 1st. So I need all your copy by the day before. And they would say, okay, and, go off and either write their own copy or maybe hire somebody, try and figure it out themselves. But that was something that they would always bring to me, and then I would take it from there. And so Elise was like, no problem, I'm going to write my own copy. And she called me the day that her copy was due, and she was like, I don't know what is going on. I'm completely stuck. I'm paralyzed. I'm beating my head against a wall. The harder I try, the worse the copy gets. Like I literally can't write this copy. Can you please help me? And that was a really eye-opening moment because I really couldn't help her. And I just made it a mission to never let this happen again. So thanks to her, I went on a mission for a very long time, delving deep into how to really tell a powerful story and an effective story, a story that actually works to grow your business. And this type of story is different than like a founder's story or the story of how you got into business. It's a story that you share about your business, but it's really about inviting your potential clients into a story with you, where you play a character in the story, but they really are the hero of the story. And so I delved deep into that. I flew across the country. I went to workshops. I read books. I became one of the very first StoryBrand guides. And through that process, I never treated any project the same again. It always started with storytelling. And when I started applying these principles to my projects, I was getting phone calls from clients saying, Kris, I'm charging 6 times more for the exact same service because now the value's being communicated and my website's doing the heavy lifting for me, or I'm booking way more sales calls, and when I get on the phone with them, they're already sold on what I do. I don't have to sell anymore. I'm not wasting my time on calls trying to sell because the website's doing that for me. And so I was getting this incredible feedback from clients that was just mind-blowing and really affirming. And not only that, I was applying the same principles to my own business because at that point, I was really relying solely on referrals, which is wonderful in a way. Like, it's great to be referred, but it's a really unreliable way to run your business because it can change dramatically from month to month. And that whole way of running my business was really stressful for me. And so I set my own business up with really powerful storytelling frameworks. And the same thing was happening. I was having people like taking the train into Portland to meet with me because they wanted to hire me. And like that happened multiple times. And I've really, since I shifted gears and shifted focus and delved deep into story with my own business, I've never had to worry about getting clients. Yeah.
Very neat. Yeah, so you ended up taking and applying what you had learned for your clients yourself, which I feel like for entrepreneurs is such a hard thing to do because we're so in the weeds of our own stuff and serving our clients well. But kudos to you because you know how it pays off. That is awesome. That is really, really neat. How long ago did you kind of dive into StoryBrand, like becoming a StoryBrand guide and all of that?
2017. So it was before the book Building a StoryBrand even came out.
Wow, that is awesome. And had you just been following Donald Miller? Or?
Yeah, he's actually a Portland guy.
Cool.
He lived here. He went to college here, and so I had been in his radar for a long time and really resonated with the way he really takes, or his approach simplifies marketing in a really beautiful way. And my whole approach to marketing is very much a less is more approach. I like to do like what's the minimal you can do because we're all wearing lots of hats. So how can you set yourself up to allow your business to and your marketing to do the work for you so you can focus on the work that you really love.
Absolutely. No, that is awesome. Okay, so it's been 7-ish years now.
Yes.
That's awesome. So if someone's listening, and we, before we were chatting about some people who listen are like working on their first 100K, or some have done 6 figures a couple years in a row and now they're heading into the scaling aspect. if someone is starting the initial work on like, what is my story? A lot of people I've worked with don't even have the website in the beginning because they've sold coaching packages to people and they just haven't needed it. But like you said, you want your marketing to work for you and your story and copy to work for you. So what is kind of the first step into, obviously I want people down the road to hire you and to totally outsource it to you, but if they're in the beginning stages, what is a tip or something they could do now to even start kind of developing their story and pondering like, what is the story I tell that does put my client or customer as the hero?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a freebie that that will literally walk you through how to brain dump the fundamentals of your story. And it's a 5-minute video and it's called How to Write Compelling Copy in 5 Minutes Flat. So it's a 5-minute training where I show you and I walk you through everything. And then it comes with a Google Doc that you can, with prompts that will show you exactly how to do it. It's a 3-step process. It will not take you long, but it'll change the way you talk about your business forever. And that can be found on my website at reddoordesigns.com.
Perfect.
And you can just click on free guide there in the upper navigation.
Perfect. And we'll put that in the show notes too. That is perfect for them, for the person listening who's like, I know I need to do something, but what does it look like?
Yeah.
That is
and
perfect.
Everybody does need one page online that's going to sell for them. You can call it a website. You can call it a one-page website. Like everybody needs one page that's going to sell for them if they want to stop, the grind, right?
Right.
You send everybody to that page and you know that it's set up to sell for you. And it just makes life so much easier. And on that page, you can pull that up when you get on a sales call with somebody and you've got those words right there in front of you to share.
That's so smart too, as a guide while you're on calls to be able to pull from. No, that's awesome. I'm excited for people to get your guide as well. So in your business, what have been some of your favorite projects that you've worked on?
Oh gosh, this morning I went and got a chiropractic adjustment, and I know this guy because he was a client of mine, and he's an extraordinary chiropractor, like really gentle, incredible approach. And it's really like, I really deeply love all the projects that I work on, to be honest, because the clients that I work with always are solving a very important problem. But Dr. Norman in particular, he is kind of a shyer guy, doesn't really feel comfortable marketing, and his website did not reflect his level of expertise. He is such a master at what he does, and he helps people like get out of chronic pain. And what's really lovely for me is to work with, people who are transforming other people's lives. So listening to his testimonials and what he is doing for people just made me feel so good about the work that I'm doing for him. The beauty is that we wrote him a really powerful, compelling story. We put that on his website. About half of my clients have me design and build their website once we've crafted the signature story, which is what he had me do. So not only did I get to craft the story for him, then I got to design his page online. And that really does the work of selling for him. So he can get back to the work that he really enjoys.
The good meaningful work.
Yeah. And just know that he can send people there. They can schedule with him. They get a sense of what he does and they get excited to work with him. So it's really made a big difference in his business.
No, I love that. I have this past summer, just kind of taking it easier per se, which I have not really done in business in a while. We just moved from Georgia to Florida. So getting settled, and my husband's a Georgia boy. So this is all new to him. So wanted to take it in. And I was telling him, I was like, okay, with the fall, I've just been feeling uninspired. And then I pondered more and more. And I was like, it actually doesn't matter that I was feeling uninspired, because I went and looked at exactly what you're talking about, the different clients of mine on retainer, their missions. And I was like, that fires you up. Like, I may not feel inspired today, which
right.
is fine. But knowing that, like, just what clients are doing and who they can help, that's what matters. So I agree with you. I love that perspective too, when you know the people you work with are doing that deep work that does matter. You know, it's funny.
And often they're kind of invisible in their industry because they're such experts at what they do, or they're so passionate about the work that they just have their head down and they're doing the work and relying on referrals. And really what they need is like more sustainable, consistent income and growth over time. And so it's an honor to get to help people craft this story and to help them grow.
It's such a good point too about people who like have their head down, they're doing the work. That chiropractor obviously sounds very humble in what he does. You know, he's just day in and day out doing it. And just like you said, if people aren't referring just because they're busy in their life too, and they're going, you know, they may not have a conversation that day where they need to refer him. How lovely to have a place to go on a website where people can just learn more. I agree 100%. You know, there will be the debate in business, like, do you need a website yet or no? And I agree with you. It's like, you just need a place for them to land. Like, just I always tell,
page.
Yes, it does not have to be crazy.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm like, especially with running ads to a page where they need to land, I'm like, have them book a call or have them fill out a form. Like, we just need them to do something, especially like if the only way you can get a client or customers when you're awake and working and talking to them or at a networking event, that's a lot of pressure. You need to be able to go to bed knowing if someone, I actually had a chiropractor that I coached them on their ads. The wife runs a practice and she's been learning ads. It's awesome. And she was telling me that a lot of the forms are filled out in the middle of the night because they're in this chronic pain. They're up, they're like, I need help. And they fill out the form at 2 a.m. Well, you're not in your office then, right? And so a place for when someone, you know, in the chiropractic or health realm is hurting and they can land, what a gift.
What a gift. And also, like, what a shame if people are pouring money into ads and pointing it to a page that falls flat or doesn't make it clear what you want them to do, right? I know your clients are not in that position, but I have clients come to me and they're spending over $1,000 on ads every month, and they're showing me where the ads are going, and I'm like, press pause. Pause. Don't pour your money down the toilet.
Let's wait a second. Let's make it look nice and say 100%. That's what I talk a lot about, getting your house in order. And so that is, you know, if someone is like, we need leads, we're ready to go. This client, actually, it's funny you say that, the landing page was not what it needed to be. It was not converting. And so I said, you know what? We need to just do an on Facebook and Instagram lead form that you're actually on the app scrolling, you fill it out and they reach out to you, because the website wasn't where it needed to go. Right. And so 100%, I'm always like, where are we sending them? What's happening? And that was honestly how a lot of my offers had changed, because I was doing only ads, only launches, but people would come to me and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Or like, this is broken on your site, auditing so much that now we actually start from the beginning. And I'm like, okay, I love that you want to launch in 90 days. The first 30 days, here's what you need to do. Am I doing it or are you know, because someone has to. And so 100%.
The metaphor I like to use is you send out a bunch of invitations to your housewarming party, but your house is a total disaster and still under construction. And so people are coming and you're not ready. Like the doors practically locked or falling off the hinges.
Yes. And it's so true. Like when you are driving traffic, let's make sure that it is right and it does 100%. I think that the ad success stories of like 2019 and 2020, which, like, what a great time to be alive and running ads back then. It was fun. And we also were home, so there was nothing to do but build your business and run ads, right? And so many people have gotten in the game since then that, the competition is higher. And those with the better website, copy, story, once you send them to the site, that's what makes them convert. And that's something I analyze with people, with clients, is looking at the page and being like, well, people are only staying on this page for 10 seconds. Or, oh my gosh, people are staying on this page for 2.5 minutes. They're reading, they're enjoying. It may not be the time for them to buy yet, but they are consuming this. So I agree. I love thinking about the house. Like when you said that, I could just imagine someone walking in with something to bring as a gift, but like the counters aren't on yet, so they can't put it down. Like, there is a problem here.
Right. And they're excited. They're excited to be there, but like it's empty, or it's like covered in cobwebs.
The disconnect. No, I think that, yes, 100%. And I am glad to have gotten to that point where like I can say, hey, you're not ready, because there's also people out there who run ads who just want you to sign up and just want to run ads. And when the traffic hits there, it is what it is. They did their part. And it's like, well, hold on. What if we had paused 3 months, 6 months? You took it over, did your thing, or whatnot. It really does matter. That's a good way to put it. I like that to use for the future.
Yeah, so, it goes right along with your get your house in order.
I always tell people, I'm like, go, every couple weeks, click and look at your Instagram, check your link in bio. Are there broken links? Check through your site, just because things can change and can break, but just make sure what is that first impression they're seeing. And now I'm excited to go on some of your clients' sites. Like I've already been on your website, but to see the storytelling, it sets it apart from sitting in front of a Google Doc going, what am I going to write about? Right. When you have this framework that you're bringing them through. I think that's great.
Well, and a big part of what I do is really, we start with the signature story, but that's kind of part one. And then part two is really, how do we infuse design components into your story that really bring to life that story and complement the story? Because so often people either invest in the visuals or they invest in the story, but they don't invest in both. And when you're doing both those things together, when the design really truly brings to life the story, that's kind of when you start to bubble up to the top of the internet. Because when someone comes to your website, it feels good. They don't even know why. They just know this feels good. And then the whole idea is people don't really buy from the best. They buy from the one they feel the most connected to. And when you're telling story, that's the powerful way to cultivate true connection and really build trust. And those are the two necessary ingredients of converting a client.
Love that. This is really neat. And I hope, people listening will head to the show notes, grab your free guide. I even am like, oh, I want to dig in and dive in, just because I read Donald Miller's book a couple years ago, but the refresher and just that thought process too of the story. And it's not, I think sometimes, especially if people aren't writers, they're like, oh, I have to write copy. Oh, I have to get this turned in, like what you saw. And really it's like, no, this is meaningful stuff. So,
well, and to kind of give your listeners a break, I mean, the reality is it isn't fun to write about your own business, and it can feel like a big headache. And it's because of the bottle effect, which just means you're so close to your own business. It's like you're inside of a bottle trying to read the label that can only be read from the outside. And so it doesn't matter how hard you try. It feels very, very hard. And so, I want to let everybody off the hook around that, but also just that, you're just so close to it. But the gift is your story, your most powerful story isn't even about you. It's about your clients, and it's about the role that you play in their lives. And it's a kind of a shift of like, oh my gosh, I got to write a story about, all about me. And it's actually not necessarily all about you.
Yeah. And it's so funny you say that it's not all about you, which is such a good reminder. And when I was in that moment of not feeling inspired, I was like, well, it's actually literally not about you. So if your clients are still seeing results and the work's being done and things are humming along, this doesn't matter right now how you feel, And so I love that reminder too of, when someone's on your site, they do want to see what's in it for them? And is what you did for this person, is this possible for me? And we know it is, but it's that communication of it part it's awesome that you partner with people to do that. But if someone wants to work with you, chat more about potentially hiring you, where is the best place to find you? And we'll link in show notes as well.
Well, surprisingly, the best place to find me is on my website. It's reddoordesigns.com, REDOORDESIGNS.com. Everything we talked about today is there. You can get the freebie there. You can book a free money-making messaging call with me there. And you can also learn about my signature offer.
I love that. I love the money-making messaging. So here at the Clicks and Giggles podcast, we talk about marketing, we talk about clicks, and we also like to giggle and have fun. So when you are not working, Kris, what do you enjoy doing for fun, ways to unwind and just enjoy life?
Yeah, I have a 6-year-old little boy. So a lot of my time is spent with him after school. We like to do things like ride bikes. It was so cute. We were on a boat ride the other day with a few friends, and somebody asked him, his name is Jude. And yes, it's after the song Hey Jude, by the Beatles. And somebody asked him, what was your favorite thing that you did this summer? And we've done a lot of cool stuff, but he said, snuggling with mommy in bed. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this kid.
Yes, that's making me tear up. That is sweet. And that's what matters. And what a blessing that your job allows you to be able to do that and make time for what matters most.
It's the best, isn't it? The freedom that we have is just absolutely worth it.
Well, I am so glad you were on the podcast tonight. Thank you for being here.
It was a joy. Yeah, thank you for having me. Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.